I'm certainly in favor of legalization of marijuana for personal use. I don't believe that the European Union could actually stop us from doing that. I think this is a national prerogative. This is already, legalization has already happened in various countries like California, in Canada, but even in Europe, for example, we have the Portuguese model on the decriminalization and legalization of soft drugs, which has been working for quite a number of years now, and so we should look forward to that model. So no, I don't think that the EU has any power to stop Malta from introducing legalizing marijuana. We have already legalized, like other countries, even in Europe, Italy, Norway, etc., marijuana for medical use. And I don't foresee any problems if Malta were to legalize marijuana also for recreational use. I would say that I am more in favor of closer collaboration amongst the various European Union countries. I might be a bit of a federalist, yes, I would quite approach that sort of approach to the political issue, but of course there should be the flexibility allowed for the different cultural backgrounds of each European country. Unfortunately, there are certain issues like foreign policy, like migration policy, where because there is no real unified European policy on these issues, we have big problems, and we are witnessing this daily, especially in the field of migration, where Europe, everyone is working on their own, and everyone is, just implementing ad hoc solutions to the crises that we are facing. So personally, yes, I would be more in favor of closer collaboration on these issues, in particular, as I said, foreign affairs and migration. I believe that, so I repeat myself basically, that we should have a closer union amongst the different countries, especially on particular issues, and whilst respecting, however, the cultural and political and social background of each country. I would mention in particular the question of neutrality, which is to be found in the constitutions of Finland, of Malta, of Austria, of Sweden, of Ireland too, that if there were to be eventually any common defence policy in the European Union, an enhanced cooperation on this, the neutrality of our neutral countries should be respected, and therefore there should be provisions for neutral countries to be comfortable within such an arrangement. And with regards to political correctness, I think we should strike a balance in the sense that people should respect other people. We cannot just say what we feel, what we think off the cuff without having any regard to the sentiments and to the feelings of other people. I mean, this is natural. This is normal common sense. This is normal politeness. And this is normal also respect of diversity, of tolerance of diversity, of tolerance of others. We are not all the same. We are, on the contrary, we are all different. And therefore we should respect the differences between us. This, however, does not mean that we should not speak honestly and clearly about our doubts, about our, questions, and whilst being in mutual respect of each other. And unfortunately, we should avoid the trend which very much happens in Malta, but a bit of everywhere, even on Facebook, where people tend to then insult each other if they don't agree. Sorry, that is not the way forward. The way forward is being respectful of others, and therefore a certain amount of political correctness is necessary, whilst at the same time being sincere and open when speaking to people who have views which might be different from ours. What is my main goal as a candidate? I suppose it's the main goal of everybody, of anybody who presents themselves for elections. I would like to provide a better quality of life for Maltese people living in the European Union and also for other European Union citizens. And therefore better quality of life, in particular in Malta, means that we should stop this building madness which we are having, where all parts of Malta, none are being spurred, are being built up all over. Oh, an open space in Malta seen as if it were something, a luxury. We need open spaces. Quality of life is important. We need to improve the quality of the air we breathe. We need to improve the quality of the sea we swim in. We need to have open spaces where children, your children, because I don't have anything, or any children, and you're still young people also, and you will still don't have them yet probably, but you will have them in the future. Would you like to see your children cooped up, surrounded by concrete, cement, and nowhere where to roam about and let their emotions roam free? No, I am for the quality of life. That's the major thing. Of course, I am for transparency in politics. Civil society has to participate more. Politicians must not be anymore in the hands and in the pockets of businessmen, and this is the problem with Malta, where it is the business people who are now running Malta really, and not the elected politicians. And therefore, as an elected MEP, if I were to be elected, of course, I would strive to implement all this and to make life as most livable as possible for all of us. You're asking me why European politics are not local. Of course, you're young. I'm much older than you are. But I've done local, national and European elections, and even elections abroad. So this is, I think, is about my 30th year doing elections, even though I might look very, very young, but I'm not. So it is not local or European. I have contested both national and European elections since 1992. And, well, European elections obviously has a different dimension, because there are certain things which cannot be tackled at European level, because they are the prerogative on these issues will be simply and only exclusively national. But since most of the European laws are today applied to and implemented in national laws, therefore it is very important to try and influence at the beginning a law in Europe before it is enacted, because eventually that law is going to have a big influence in our country, since it's going to be implemented here too. Well, with a no-deal Brexit, which could be a possibility, certainly we have to all work, both the British and the Europeans, to ensure that the closest and best relationship possible continues. It is in the interest of all of us, of all European Union citizens and of British citizens, to have close collaboration with Britain, to disrupt as little as possible the the social, economic, political situation at the moment, because any disruption can cause hardship, to many people, can mean the loss of jobs, can mean, on even little things which we did not even think about. Just imagine, we might have problems with medicines, the importation of medicines, or the quality, the standard of certain products, food products, or whatever. So the least, or just imagine the airports. I mean, that's another issue which probably hits most of us, since most of us do travel, and so on. So the least disruption possible, and therefore keeping the closest friendship with the British people, and trying to ensure, even though I'm a non-Brexiter personally, so I would be very happy if the British decided to have a second referendum, and then, now that they know what the conditions are, decide on that. But that is in the hands of the British people to decide. So if it's a non-Brexit, if it is a hard Brexit, let's make sure that we try and get the best possible for everybody on both sides. Definitely. Whether I'm elected or not elected, this is something which has to be tackled. This is a problem, I think, which we are living in our country. in a country where, alas, I'm sorry to be pessimistic on this, but I think that we have developed, the politicians have developed a culture where the only real value is money. That you are valued only if you are worth something, that you are valued, even as a person, only if you can be commercialized. And therefore, the economy rules supreme, but there are no checks and balances to this economy. The end result is that because we are so interested in having economic development and in people investing in our country, we have forgotten that this brings about with it many foreigners who are spending much more, who can afford to spend much more. The rich ones, the ones who are working in iGaming or in whatever, they can, and financial services, they can afford to spend much more for the rent, with the consequence that the rents for the Maltese have really, really gone up, and for residents also, foreign residents in Malta. We also have poor people working in Malta. We are basing a lot on cheap labor. You can see it around you. Have a lot of people, I will mention the place, Pakistan, Bangladesh, drivers of our Arriva buses, or not the Arriva, whatever they're called now today, buses. These people are being paid peanuts. They are being paid 450 euros an hour. But even they can afford to go into a 1,500 a month flat if it's 6 or 8 of them in the flat. So we either have the people who are comfortable, earning 8,000 a month, who can pay for a 2,000 euro a month flat. We have the 6-8 living together who will spend 250 euros each, but still live in a 1,500 or in a 2,000 month flat a month. But this is impacting a lot on the Maltese, on normal Maltese. I'm not talking about even those who are considered to be poor. I'm talking about normal Maltese people who work and who earn 1,000 euros a month, which is a normal thing in Malta. These people today cannot afford to work, so I would certainly push for that. But this major push has not got to be only in Europe, it has to be here. And therefore there have to be systems whereby greed is not encouraged. We are living in a culture where the greed for money is encouraged, and we forget that there are vulnerable people who are suffering because of this greed. I will work to ensure that the vulnerable ones are the most protected. So with regards to the copyright law in Europe, of course, there are two faces of the medal, as usual. And I think we have to find the balance between this. On the one hand, you have the artists, the inventors, the singers, the scriptwriter's rights to enjoy a certain amount of benefits for having produced such an innovative text, script, song, whatever. But on the other hand, we have to have the right to be able to use this kind of material and not restrict everything to payment. So there has to be a balance between the two, which has to be worked out. I don't think there is a ready-made solution whereby the artist's rights or the inventor's rights are safeguarded, are rewarded in a certain way, without penalizing, however, mass consumption, because at the end we need this to improve the quality of life of people. I will just mention one thing which is not linked to copyright, which is linked to patenting. Medicines. Imagine the discovery of a medicine, of a new medicine which can cure an incurable illness. Of course, the person who has, and the pharmaceutical company that has developed it wants the money, and we have the 20-year system. But on the other hand, there are people who are dying. So we have to find a compromise whereby the people who are dying can have reasonable access to the new medicine and not put in a condition where it is impossible for them because it is so expensive to buy, and we see children, people, normal people dying when we have a medicine which is readily accessible but not accessible because of the price one has to pay for it. So on this, I think there's still a lot to be done, work in the European Parliament, in order to find this reasonable compromise. Well, obviously global warming, climate change, unlike Donald Trump, who says it does not exist, I think it does exist a lot. And I think he's very silly to say that and to repeat this mantra. Unfortunately, he's the most powerful man in the world. So if he says it, that's going to influence the whole world. But I think we can see it around us all over the world, and even here in Malta, we can see it. When it rains for 2 hours, it floods. All Malta's flooded. Of course, that is also man-made. It's the climate change. But it's also our fault because we're building everywhere, covering everywhere in tarmac, and there's not enough land, fields, that can absorb the rain, for example. So we must aim at zero emissions from cars. We must aim at relieving Malta of fossil fuels by the year 2050. It's not so far. It's far, but not so far. So we have to have, for example, if we start by our country, we have to have a decent transport system, public transport system, which encourages people to leave their car at home. And therefore, I would say we have to double our buses. We have to ensure that people do board them, and therefore encourage them by making it, for example, free for between 6 in the morning and 8:30, and 4 in the evening and 6:30 in the evening, when people are going to work and from work. Malta's already spending 300 million euros a year just because of the traffic gridlock. And this is, of course, the more we are gridlocked in traffic with fossil fuel-based vehicles, the more we are contributing to climate change and to global warming. So therefore, we must rely on renewable energy, the sun, the wind, the waves. We are surrounded by sea, and we do not even have not even started experimenting on waves, on creating energy from waves. So yes, that is a priority. It's a priority for the future, climate, and even for the present. Not only for the future, because climate change is approaching really, really fast. And, for example, a result of climate change is migration. A good number of people who are coming on the boats and fleeing, they are fleeing not wars, but they're fleeing desertification in the sub-Saharan Africa. Climate change is killing life. There is no water, so they have to escape. First to the big cities in Africa, and then they're here in Europe. So yes, that is definitely one of the priorities for me. Overpopulation of this planet is a problem, and I see only one real antidote to it. Education, that is a major thing, schooling for all the kids and for all the youngsters all over the world, and contraception. So therefore, contraception has to be part of sexual education. There should be sexual education in classes in order that people know how to control. We are also animals. We have animal instincts. We are part of the animal world, so we also have our sexual instincts. But we also have a mind, so we also have to reason out things. And if every time each one of us had an urge, sexual urge, and doesn't think about, apart from the love and affection one should show towards a partner, one should also think about the effects of not having a baby every 9 months. So it is important that everybody is educated to know what sexual contraception there is in order to prevent pregnancies from happening. The problem of migration and irregular migration in Europe and in the world. It is a problem. It will continue to exist, and until Europe gets its act together, until we push away national egoisms, something which you can see a lot, an extreme lot now, especially in the Visegrad countries, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, who absolutely do not want to have anything to do with migration because they are not hit directly. But this is even now touching places like Austria, touching Italy, which is our neighbour, and so on. There has to be a European solution to migration. Of course, the question for me is, again, first thing is having investments in the in the poorer areas of the world. The nearest one to us is Africa, and Europe should give a big contribution to produce work, to create jobs in the countries which are suffering from mass unemployment, and trying to ensure that the money is not given to the governments, but that the money is given to the people so that the people can live a decent life. Living a decent life will be an antidote to migration. Another thing is contributing for anti-climate change measures even in these areas. As we said, in sub-Saharan Africa, it is becoming impossible to live there. So we therefore have to contribute money. Yes, Europe should increase its budget to as development aid to these countries so that life is more livable with decent jobs for these people, and that can help to prevent more people migrating. But then there will always be migration, because that has always been the history of mankind and of womankind, and therefore we have to aim towards a European solution, which, in my opinion, has to be part of which has to be burden or responsibility sharing, where all European countries, all European Union countries share the number of people who have a right to reside in Europe, and to share it according to fair parameters which are tied also to the population and to the size of the receiving countries. With regards to the far-right populistic movements, of course, my views are totally opposed to theirs. I don't believe in the stronger, I'm strong, so I don't care about the other's attitude. Of course, it's a free world, it's a free European Union, and until one respects the parameters of a decent and civilized debate, I am open to different ideas from mine, even those with which I do not agree, and those which I could never agree with, but always within limits. But when it comes to populistic solutions, which involve xenophobia, racism, or the kicking out of diversity, of people who are different, of people who have a different gender orientation, etc., that is unacceptable to me, because we have to be tolerant of each other. We are all different, we have our differences, and we have to respect them. So yes, I can have a debate with a centre-right person, with centre-right politicians, but it has to be a civilized debate between both of us, in mutual respect of each other, but mainly in tolerance of all the diversity that exists in Europe. The motto of the European Union is united in diversity, and we have to live that motto and not just speak it. The important thing is facts and not just words. With regards to public transport, I think I've already mentioned that before, but I will repeat it. I believe Malta needs to expand its public transport, at least double it. Double the fleet of buses. It needs to double the drivers available and giving them decent salaries. It is shameful that we are getting drivers from countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, etc., because we can pay them for 4.50 euros an hour. We can, if we need, we can and should get even drivers from Bangladesh and Pakistan, but we must pay them the decent salaries which we want to pay to the Maltese people and to any other people. Once you have decent salaries, you will also get people wanting to do the job. The problem is that at the moment, drivers are not rushing for the jobs because they are being offered peanuts. And it's not an easy job. It's a stressful job. So we need more buses, more drivers, and especially then a regular service, a punctual service, and a continuous service, and which hits as much as possible of Malta. So we have to increase the number of trips, especially during the rush hours. During rush hours, it can't be that the bus leaves full from the first stop and people are left stranded for hours along the Slima France, Spinola. I want that route. Okay? In summer, when you have all the students and all the tourists, I'm sorry, you have to increase the buses. We have to get people off the roads in their cars. That should be the policy of our governments. Unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, we have this mentality where we are widening roads, increasing junctions, wanting to build tunnels in such a small island as ours, as in Gozo. This will mean that we are just encouraging people to use more of their cars. You're telling them, sorry, we're going to have 2 lanes, now we're going to have 4. Please, bring the cars. And we are having new cars, 12,000 new cars on the road every year. This is not sustainable for Malta. It's impossible, and even for Gozo. Therefore, as I said, the solution for me is encouraging public transport in the way I have just shown at the beginning. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be interviewed by you.